I currently own a portfolio of dropshipping brands that, as you can see right here, combines to do a few $1,000,000 in sales every single year, which has allowed me to buy my dream home on the water in the city I love, Fort Lauderdale, for a little under $500,000, while also investing into some rental properties by the age of 23. But the crazy thing about all of that is that 2 years ago today, I was in a situation worse than a lot of you watching this video, where I wasn't just broke, I was over 25 grand in debt, depressed, and I couldn't get out of my bed most mornings. I would just be playing video games, watching YouTube, scrolling on Instagram and dating apps. I had zero purpose or direction, and I want to tell you what I had to do to get out of that black hole of being completely purposeless, of having no real reason to have a successful business, to now having the purpose, the direction, the system, and the schedule, and the habits that I had to adopt to now be at this point in my life at 23, where I do feel like I'm now accomplishing way more of my potential, where in the past I was just scratching the surface. Because I'm sure a lot of you watching this video feel that way about yourself, where you know you're destined for more. You don't want to be like the average person, but you just don't really know what's missing. What am I doing wrong? What are the habits? What are the things that I have to do? So coming from someone who runs multiple six-figure month businesses, I just want to share with you what's worked for me. And hopefully you adopt a few of these things. Some of it works for you, because it really wasn't that catastrophically different, the version of myself at 21 versus 23. It was just a few minor tweaks. And then it completely course corrected my life as an entrepreneur, as a person, just made me well-rounded and a bit of the version I am today. So getting into it, just to give you a little context before we get into all the value and the transformation, the things that I feel like you have to do as a successful entrepreneur if you want to be destined for that path. When I was 21, I actually had a few successful businesses. I had a few dropshipping stores that I had scaled up. I even exited from a few, my first one being Umro Sports for $72,000. So I had multiple points when I was a teenager or early 20s where I was living in my parents' house, having multiple six figures in my bank account. But as fast as that money would come in, it would also come out. It was just like this, I had a coin in my bank account and unbelievable. What happened? Do that magic trick at the bar and watch how many panties get thrown at your face. An avalanche. But essentially, I was 21 years old and I would have this money in my bank account, but I really didn't have a purpose or bigger vision, North Star goal as to what I was doing, why I was staying so disciplined, putting in all this work. And it kind of just resulted in me completely collapsing as an entrepreneur when I was 21. At that age, I had fully gone out of really running any dropshipping stores, and I actually went in on a done-for-you dropshipping agency where I was managing 100 plus clients, where we would build stores for them. So I essentially had 100 plus stores I was managing for other people. We had 20 plus full-time employees. We had a great system for testing 50 plus products every single week with custom content, our own UGC creators, and custom product pages, all of this great stuff. It was basically dropshipping on steroids. But with this agency, really any done-for-you agency, and it's why I would never recommend to ever pay for one, because if someone can build a business for you, why wouldn't they just do it for themselves? That was always the core fundamental issue that people would ask me before becoming a client, and I'd be like, yeah, you know what? You're kind of right. That's a good point. And we did have a profit share built in, so that obviously if you succeeded, we succeeded as well, so that could motivate us. But the reality was our success rate, despite doing all these things the right way, was about 15% for our clients. And that's incredibly high for the industry. Usually it's closer to 2 to 5%. And that's why most of the time done-for-you agencies are a scam. And I just didn't feel good about having 85% of our clients not make their money back. So I decided to take on no more new clients and just fully focus on the ones we had. And if we couldn't get them to be successful, if we couldn't increase that success rate to 30, 40%, then the agency would falter. And after hunkering down, trying a few new things, trying new media buyers, trying to hire a lot of more employees, it just didn't happen. So the business crumbled and I ended up refunding over 6 figures back to our clients, which was more than the money I had in my bank account. So I ended up being in debt and I was in this lull where my life was just so depressing. I literally could not get out of bed. I had started a new business to try to work my way out of this hole, and it was doing about 2 to 5 grand a month, but I just really had no purpose. I had no direction. And I find that to typically be the first problem that a lot of entrepreneurs and people that get started in this game have. Because I've coached probably close to 500 to 1,000 people at this point. And the biggest thing I notice among the successes is they always have a strong why. They have a strong North Star goal, the thing that's leading them to put in this discipline, put in this work, make the sacrifices, and make it worthwhile to them. And I think it's really important as an entrepreneur to be concrete as to what is this all for? What are you really trying to accomplish? Because the less concrete this idea is, when it's just, oh, I want to make 10 grand a month. I just want to make money. I just want to replace, my main income. When it's just really vague and it's really tied to money, I find that those types of people always end up being the ones that quit the earliest and never really put in the work for the long term. Because money isn't enough of a motivator. It's not going to motivate you enough. And especially because in this business, dropshipping or any other business, you're not going to make money initially. You are going to lose money for the first few weeks, the first few months, maybe in the first year. And if money's the only thing motivating you and seeing you make profit and make sales, you're going to quit after a few weeks. That's just the reality. So you have to have a stronger why than the money. It's got to be providing for your family. It's got to be just reaching your potential, accomplishing what you know you're capable of doing, something greater than making money. So I'd say the first lesson I could give to you that I wish I had at 21 was just being concrete as to like, what exactly am I doing this all for? What are my short-term goals? What are my long-term goals? Just being a little bit more concrete. And what ended up actually making the biggest difference and why I've now become drastically more successful over the last year is because I actually had a vision board. And I know it sounds very woo-woo, manifestation, very girly. Yeah, I have a vision board. We put all the collage together and you're going to be a bad bitch. You're going to make 10 grand a month and you're going to be traveling and be just literally the baddest mama ever. No, it actually has some validity to it. And I know I was very skeptical. But I cannot stress the importance of how valuable it is to have a vision board that I will look at every single day when I'm working that will just visually show, here's the person that I want to be. Here's the identity, because you need reminders. When you're just going through your day-to-day, when you're on autopilot mode, when you're on social media, when you're working, when you're doing all this stuff, it's hard to remember who is the person you're trying to become. Who are you trying to work to become as well? So when you have that reminder every day when you're working of, oh, I want to be the person that works out every day. And you have a picture of you working out or having a six-pack. Oh, I want to be the person that buys my first house like I did. And I had a literal picture of this place printed out on a vision board. And I knew a year from now, I am going to buy this place. I am going to live here. I am going to finally move out of my fucking parents' house because I was so content with living there and having no bills. I just didn't really feel the pressure. I didn't feel really any reason. But once I made it a priority, and it was a priority that I would stare at every single day, that I would remind myself, here's what you're doing. This is why those tasks that you write down every single day matter and why you need to get them done. It made it so much easier to get the work done and focus on the right things. So the first thing I would ask for you is get clear on what exactly are you trying to accomplish. Why does it matter? What's your big why? And it can't be money related. It's too surface level. Go a layer deeper. And once you're clear on that, the next thing I had to do to get out of that hole at 21 was finally make some damn sacrifices, because I was not executing and I wasn't as productive anywhere near at the level I am today when I was 21. And I saw moderate success. And I think anyone can see moderate success at a certain point, because the reality is that in business, even dropshipping, if you put in about 2 to 3 hours of productive work a day on the right tasks, you will see success. Because the average person who really is doing dropshipping usually has another job or is in school and only has a few hours, and they fuck around in those few hours. They watch YouTube videos like this. They're watching courses. All they're doing is learning. They don't put in an ounce of work. They put in maybe 10 to 20 minutes of really productive work, and that's it. And that's why the needle never moves. That's why they never see enough success. And if you just hunker down and say, hey, dropshipping really boils down to 4 key pillars. It's product research, building websites, creating ads, media buying. If I just focus on whatever thing I'm missing right now this week. Okay, this week I don't have any products to test. Let me focus today, the 2 hours, just on researching products. That way I can build a list of 5 to 10 products just like that. It's not too complicated, especially if you watch my videos on how to do product research. Okay, cool. Tomorrow I found my products. Now let's just focus on building websites for at least 2 of those products. Cool. Spent 2 hours building the website. I already have templates ready to go. I already have AI scripts that can write out the description and come up with all the text that I would need. Cool. I have a good system. And obviously that system comes with repetition. Obviously, if you're a part of a program like mine, you'll have templates for the product page, which make it just so easy to know exactly what sections you need. And then AI prompts that can write the descriptions, write out the reviews, do all the work for you. And then you know exactly what apps to build so that you have a repeatable system that you know works and is a framework of building product pages that with the right product will succeed. That's where you just need to get. And then, of course, with ads, same thing, templates, frameworks, having all that. Once you build that catalog, whether that's, again, through paying someone for their catalog or building your own catalog on your own, it's perfectly fine either way. But once you build that catalog and that repeatable system, then you should be able to test 2 to 3 products a week. And that's the right inputs. You focus on the inputs and that leads to the exciting outputs. So if you focus on those inputs, 2 to 3 product tests a week, focus on those 4 pillars, You are going to see success after a few months, but you just can't be focused on, I want to make money, I want to make money, I want to make money. Because if you focus on, I just need to test 2 products, naturally that output, that goal that you want will happen. But it's focusing on the systems and the inputs. Now, in terms of sacrifices that I need to make to just become a more dialed entrepreneur that is now achieved, again, not everything that I want. I want to be way further along in life, but now I've kind of gotten to the point where I would say my efficiency is at like 95%, which is way higher than I could have said in the past. I would say in the past I was at 30%. I was honestly, if I looked at my screen time, and I think that's something that you should all do, my screen time was terrible. My phone was the biggest inhibitor of any success. And you have to just, if you really want to be successful, make the things that you're addicted to less appealing. Obviously, a lot of people talk about grayscaling your phone. That's one method. But for me personally, what I had to do is just delete the distractions. I would spend 5 hours every single day on YouTube. And it's embarrassing to say that, but I would. I would watch all my favorite content creators. I would go down the loophole. I'd be on the toilet spending an hour pooping when I was really done after 10 minutes, but I just kept watching videos and I just didn't want to leave. And it's embarrassing to admit, but that was the truth. I would spend 5 hours a day. And you just think about that over the course of a year, how many days, full days I spent watching YouTube, just wasting time, being a consumer. And if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you can't be a consumer. You have to be a producer. You have to be focused on what you're producing, what you are making, what you are creating. You can't be the consumer. It doesn't work. And I had to delete that app. And do I still watch YouTube today? Yeah, I do. But it's on my desktop, which is completely different. So when it's on my desktop, I'm not as distracted. I'm on work mode. Like, I associate my desktop as my workstation. So you have to make things that are distractions harder for you to access. Same thing with Instagram. I've completely deleted it. I don't really post Instagram stories. I don't really do Instagram posts. My team handles that for me because I know if I did download it, and it's embarrassing to say, I would spend 3 hours a day on there. I would be looking at memes. I would be watching whatever everyone else is doing, watching their stories. I know myself, and you have to know yourself. If the cookie's in front of you, if you have that cookie jar in your kitchen and you're trying to lose weight, you know you're going to be eating those cookies. If it's in your sight, it's going to be a distraction. Out of sight, out of mind. So I had to delete those distractions. Same thing with the video games. I had a PS5. I was addicted to it. I played GTA 5 all the time. I'd play FIFA. I'd play Madden. I love those games. They're amazing. But golly, I just can't control myself. So I literally handed my PS5 to my best friend. I said, hey, have it. You owe me nothing. I just need it outside my house. And is it hard when you delete these things, when you get rid of these just distractions and these like vices? They are truly vices. They're addictions. It's akin to being someone who's addicted to nicotine and vaping all the time. I see people that are addicted to nicotine when I go out. I'm just like, God, how could you be addicted to something like that? It's terrible for you. And then when I really self-analyze myself, I'm like, holy shit, that's just me, but in a different form that's more acceptable. I am addicted to a more acceptable form of self-destruction, of being addicted to social media apps and dating apps and all this shit. So I had to kind of equate that in my mind to, I'm no better than those people that are addicted to cocaine or crack or any of that shit. And I know it sounds dramatic, but I genuinely had to create this devil-like, this is something that's really holding me back association with these distractions and these vices. Otherwise, I would have just been like, it's all right. It's fine. And if you don't do that in your brain, I think it's very hard to eliminate them from your life. So for me, it did require getting rid of these apps, because at the end of the day, the thing that was holding me back, if I was really to culminate why these social media apps, dating, the video games, all that shit was so distracting, and I would spend 10, 12 hours literally a day, and I know it's embarrassing, but I would, and I still was relatively successful, that's the crazy part, at operating at 25%. The crazy thing, the culmination is what I realized is that my dopamine was just all over the place. I was so addicted to these apps because it was just such quick dopamine. And if you really want to be truly successful, you have to be able to get dopamine from working. And obviously the dopamine of working is far less than social media, than watching YouTube videos and scrolling and dating apps and all that shit. I understand that. So if your baseline for dopamine is here and the dopamine you get from working is here, yeah, you're not going to want to do the work. So in a lot of cases, you just need to reset that dopamine level down to here. and then the work becomes enjoyable. Then actually living life and touching grass and going to the gym and exploring new restaurants and being a human that actually gets to experience what life is like outside of a computer screen or phone screen, it becomes enjoyable. It becomes something that you crave. And that's when I feel like you become the best version of yourself. So for me, I needed to completely dopamine detox, cut the distractions out. And I remember Alex Becker, he had a great video on dopamine detox and I'd highly recommend watching. And he had a great example of this where there was a study where they had rats and they would have little helmets on where if they pressed a button, it would trigger this little helmet to shoot dopamine in their brain. It would trigger those sensors. And they would have these rats with two paths. One path where there's a button that would give them dopamine, and another path that would give them food, what they needed to live and survive and grow. And these rats would every single time, and with the path to get to the button, it actually had little, and I apologize, the path that would lead to the button that would trigger dopamine, it had shock senses. There were shock pads on the floor, meaning the rat would get shocked. It would go through pain just to press the button that would give them dopamine, rather than go down the path that had no shocks, it had food at the end of it. Because our brains do not want us to be successful. All our brains crave in a lot of cases is just dopamine. And dopamine does not equate success in a lot of cases if that's how you have your life with being addicted to all these quick, instant fixes of dopamine. So you need to be better than a rat is essentially what you need to do to become a successful entrepreneur. And it's harder than you may think. So what I had to do was create those sacrifices, make those a part of my life, and then just have intention. I wanted to have this intention of being the best version of myself, of being someone who got everything they want out of life, that grabbed life by the balls and said, I want to live the top experiences. I want to meet the highest quality people. I want to be someone that others look up to and say, that's who I want to become, an example for others. That was a big part of my why. And once I got clear on that why, then it was about moving with intention. What were the habits I need to adopt in order to see success in my business and the exciting outputs that I want? And here are the things I did, and I would write this down. First off, you should know what time of day you work the best at, and then schedule your hardest tasks at those times. For me personally, it is right now about 1 p.m., nothing crazy. I get my best work done from about 8 to 4 p.m., 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. That 8-hour block is when all my biggest tasks for the day need to get done. So I have a list on my whiteboard back there. I know it's blurred out, but I would highly recommend simplify your day, time block it out, and then figure out what you need to prioritize every night. So if I was to give you a full rundown as to what I did to become a six-figure entrepreneur, the first thing I did is that every single night, I will plan out what my next day needs to be in order for it to be a successful day. Here are the 3 biggest tasks. I always boil it down to 3, and sometimes I'll only accomplish the first task, and that takes up all my time. For instance, I might have a day where I have to film an entire course, and that's going to take 8 to 12 hours. That will take my whole working block, and that's perfectly fine. The other tasks are just there to be a reminder of, okay, if I finish priority 1, then here's the other priorities that would move the needle for me. In some cases, you'll be able to do all of it. In some cases, you can only do 1, and that's perfectly fine. But the first step, write it down. Know what actually moves the needle, write it down, and then time block it. Okay, from this time to this time is when I really want to focus on priority 1. From this time to this time is when I have priority 2. From this time to this time, this is when I have these meetings, et cetera, et cetera. Time block your day. Know each hour what you're supposed to get done. And obviously, you're going to be someone who probably has a few lulls. There might be, I'm supposed to start working this at 3. It's now 4:30. It happens. Sometimes you'll overwork on certain things, or sometimes, you'll need a distraction. You'll need a break, and things get pushed back. It happens. But as long as you're focused on just getting progress and moving towards completing whatever your main tasks are, that is what a successful entrepreneur does. Now, outside of that, you need to know, again, what time of day do you work best at so that you can put the priority tasks in the right time blocks. So for me, I work best usually as soon as I wake up. I will say, okay, what's my first task? Let me put an hour or 2 into that, and then I'll go work out at the gym. Because when you work out in the mornings, it tends to release any previous stress. It tends to clear your brain. It's like having a little brain bath where it releases all this stress and endorphins so that you can think clearly and you don't have that brain fog when you're working in the morning. And I find that to be highly productive. I also like in the mornings, personally, I will wake up. I will put on my sunscreen moisturizer, white person. I can't be in the sun for longer than 10 minutes. Otherwise, I turn to a Red Lobster, cream on, my CeraVe. Love it. And I will put that on, and then I'll be out in the sun for usually 5 to 10 minutes. I have a nice patio. I'm exposed to the sun. I get to eat my breakfast out there, and just no distractions, no phone, no computer. I just think, and it's kind of sad, but one of the biggest benefits of just not being so addicted to your phone and computer is realizing just how clear you think. When you eliminate distractions, when you eliminate voices, when you stop having just constantly music playing, videos playing, all these distractions, and you just have fucking silence, it's amazing how clear your thoughts are. Because you realize your brain actually does want you to be successful. It's just you were so bogged down with thinking about all these other things and worrying about your sports team or what your friends are doing or memes and all this crap that's distracting you that you couldn't even think clearly. And when you just have your thoughts and you have just a certain amount of time, for me it's the morning, where you just have you and your thoughts and you're just staring outside at nature, you will get so unbelievably clear as to what you need to get done and what you need to prioritize and actually get excited about your life and your business. It's insane. So I do that in the morning. When it comes to my nighttime routine, I usually like to get to bed around the same time. I've been trying. That's a habit that does take time because over the weekends I mean, just being honest, I will completely fuck that up. I will go to bed at 3, 4 in the morning. Somebody's got to save these whales from the bar at 3 a.m. And golly, I'll be that guy. Call me the torta pounder. Whatever. But yeah, I like to have fun on weekends. I do. And I think it's good to always have time off from work. So again, you can just plug out, let your brain reset and relax. So for weekends, those are sacred to me. I completely plug out. And then during the weeks, I am just locked the fuck in on what I need to get done. But on nighttime, during the week, I am very religious to my schedule. I will usually try to go to bed at around 10:30 to 11 and then wake up at 5:30 to 6. So I get about 7 hours of sleep. It takes me about 30 minutes usually to fall asleep. And I can't have my phone in the room. I've tried having my phone in the room because I love ASMR videos. If I'm really being honest, I love ASMR videos, especially the ASMR girlfriend videos. It's like, God, who needs a girlfriend when you can just have a fake one on the internet? Am I right? So much easier, so much less problems, so much less yapping. Am I right? Golly. I just couldn't do it. I would get so distracted. I would want to use my phone for other things. You already know, just all the distractions, all the vices. So I literally will charge my phone in my bathroom or in another room. And I'll have the alarm. I could still hear the alarm and I'll wake up and I'll get out of bed to turn it off. And then that kind of wakes me up and I'll take a cold shower. Coldish. I'm not the biggest cold shower. I'm not one of those freaks that takes ice baths. But that's usually how I like to kind of orient my time. And again, guys, I know it's a little bit of a long ramble, but as someone who is trying to build a successful business like yourself, probably in the dropshipping space, if you watch my channel, I know a lot of this might seem broad, but the reality is it doesn't matter if it's dropshipping, if it's Forex, if it's crypto, or whatever the fuck you want to start a business in. The people that are successful are just always the ones that have the right habits, the right schedules, that are consistent, that are disciplined, and then know what they're trying to achieve. They have the vision painted clearly, and then they know what they're working towards. And those types of people can go into any business and be successful. And then there are certain people that when they're not clear, when they don't have their life together, when they don't have their habits in order, no matter what business they start, they think, oh, this one's going to be easier. This one's going to be the thing. It always fails. So hopefully you gain a little bit of value from this video. I know usually at the end of these videos I do girl stories, but I'm going to be honest, I have not really had much interest in talking to women lately because I've just been focused on working, on doing what I want to do in my life. I'm going to F1 this weekend, so hopefully I'll see a few of you guys Sunday in Miami. I'm taking my mother out for that little early Mother's Day gift, so hopefully she enjoys it. So maybe I'll see a few of you guys there. I just hope you guys learn a thing or two that you can implement into your daily work ethic and schedule, and I can't wait to see you guys become successful once you fully understand what you're capable of and what you need to do every single day to reach your potential.